Got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. I got the string around my finger. Lucky me. Can't you see I'm in love? There's a song that I sing, I can make the rain go anytime I move my finger. Lucky me. Can't you see I'm in love? Life's a beautiful thing, as long as you hold the string. I'd be a silly so-and-so if I could ever let it go. I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. Got the string around.
So good morning, good afternoon, Staten Island, and welcome, I think, to our second live show since the COVID situation, and it's the Lambert Show. And it's always done in remembrance of my mom and dad, particularly my dad, who had a show here for many years in the 90s. And he was Johnny Carson, and I was Ed McMahon. So it was a lot of fun. And the actual subtitle to the Al Lambert Show was always about people who help people. And live music was the secondary, or live entertainment was the secondary thing. And even writers and people who entertain through their writing and things of that started to come on. So it became very interesting. And in another few weeks, there will be another element to the Al Lambert Show, which will stay in its present format, but there will be something new that I'll mention the next time I'm on the show. But today, I have next to me Philip Straniere, Judge Philip Straniere, a friend of mine, and knowing him before he was a judge, and when he became a judge, my famous line was, he deserved it, a very judicious man. And his granddaughter, Abigail Hart, is here. And this was a special surprise that Philip said, can I bring Abigail? I said, of course. And then I started to realize that you have a little experience in show business, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because I go to Children's Theater every Saturday, and I'm in shows, so I know what it's like to be on TV.
Okay, well, this is going to be great because now you're going to have this on all the time, and you can be able to see it. And as you grow up, you're going to say, "Wow, I was on that show with my grandfather, and this guy Al. I don't know where he is now, so it's going to be fun."
What shows were you in? To tell Al what shows you've been in.
I've been in Frozen Kids and Annie Kids.
Okay.
And in your new show, what are you rehearsing now?
I'm rehearsing Seussical Kids.
Isn't it with the Staten Island Children's Theater?
Yeah,
okay.
At Snug Harbor.
At Snug Harbor. That is great. My kids started there in Snug Harbor, too. And that's how they got their start. So you're a natural. I could already see it, You were singing something in the green room. Would you care to sing it? It was one of your favorite songs from Annie. Would you like to sing it?
It's called Tomorrow.
Okay, well, we'll move it just a little closer, just in case, just a little bit, just in case. There you go. I don't want to miss any of the notes. All right? There you go. So when you're ready, bump, 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 like you're on.
You ready?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
you're not ready.
You want to wait?
Okay, so we'll wait.
Yeah.
I have an idea. Let's save it for the end.
So you also want to be a producer, is what I'm getting.
That's a good
So
idea.
we'll save it to the end.
Yeah.
We'll make it our finale. That's what
right.
you want to do?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll save this to the end. But I'm still going to ask you things during the show because,
Yeah.
that's all right, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
as I came in, remarking that 75 years later, you're still in Mariners Harbor.
Yeah, well-
Or is this Arlington? Is this side of this?
well, actually, it's very funny because I think when the Hilton was built, there was a new zoning added.
Yeah.
So we called Mariners Harbor all the way along South Avenue.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that sit well with the real estate
Right.
people.
It became Southgate.
Southgate, and then I think they gave it its own zip code,
Right.
and that changed everything. But I have always said that when Staten Island and the bridge opened, and all the real estate people started creating names that we had never heard of.
Right.
All of a sudden, Mariners Harbor became Lower Toad Hill.
Right.
And that's what I told her. I was Lower Toad Hill, 6 miles, same thing.
Right.
But all the signs say Lower Toad Hill.
Right. and the price went up double. Right?
Absolutely. So anyway, we're here for many reasons to hear Abby sing. And we're here to talk about so many things, but about Jennifer,
Yeah.
your beautiful wife who passed not so long ago, who left an indelible mark on Staten Island. And you can't just say theater, because Jennifer got involved in so many things.
Sure,
For the
sure.
for the government, for Borough Hall, for all these different charitable events. She was always asked to help, whether it was no music, dancing, but the actual rudiments of the event. And so her influence actually went way past theater.
She was an equity stage manager.
Right.
And she had her equity card, but she only did that for a few years, and she realized she liked working with people and being in the community
Right.
and making everybody enjoy their theatrical experience. She helped the Staten Island Museum with their gala. She helped the Celestial Ball at CSI every year with their gala, and as you know, with Rotary, whenever
Right.
you
That was
had something with
amazing.
Rotary, she would come down. So she passed away in June.
Right.
June 11th, 2 days before our 50th anniversary. And since then, I've been going through 50 years of stuff.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because I saved everything because I'm a historian.
historian, yeah.
I think there's some use for everything, and
Yeah,
I
a
can't
bit of a
throw it
hoarder.
out. Right, right. When it's piled up over 4 feet, you're a hoarder, right? And she saved everything because it could be used in theater.
Other things.
Right?
Yeah.
We had a wheelchair that we used basically in Annie for FDR, and it was in
Right.
the garage for 20 years, and every time there's a production, it'd come out of the garage.
She was a prop shop and
Yeah,
a costume
costumes.
inventory person.
Our attic was a costume room until Nick moved up there, so that we had 2 rooms in the attic loaded with costumes.
Right.
The rooms at my father's house where Amanda and Abby live, in the basement was loaded with costumes. We have gotten rid of most of them. Ghostlight Productions, Ghostlight Theater has taken them, which we were happy about because they want to carry on the tradition of community, and that we want to have
Right.
the stuff available for community theaters
Right.
who need costumes and props. They took all the Annie buckets for all the orphans to
isn't that
use. I found
amazing?
those
Yeah.
in the garage.
That's amazing, yeah.
But so there's a couple of things I've been doing. When I was going through all the files and file cabinets, I found newspaper clippings from basically Staten Island Civic Theater, Looking Glass Players, and other groups that if she did a production, Shakespeare, or at the Psych Center with Diane Zarega's group, or Unity Cultural Workshop. I had that stuff. And so I started saying, oh, boy, people are going to want to see this stuff. It's like 20 years old, 40 years old.
Right.
So I said, oh, maybe I should call up Wayne and see if he has the review from Annie or the review from Rashomon or whatever it was.
Right.
And I said, this is going to get crazy because I'll be calling everybody for the review.
Right.
So what I spent a couple of weeks putting the material together alphabetically.
That was great.
There's well over 100 reviews. I have the programs from a lot of the shows, and I contracted with Ed Weissman, and we're going to have a website of
Great.
Staten Island Community Theater,
How great
basically
is
from like 1970 to 1990, as much stuff as we can get up. The original, he's obviously copying them, and I donated my Civic Theater minutes and Looking Glass Player minutes and things like that to the Staten Island Museum. The website will be donated to the museum after a couple of years, and so that they will maintain it, but I'm underwriting the cost of making the website. And the idea was that our friends, and that was our family. Community theater was our family,
Absolutely,
so that'll be available for people to, if they want to go read their reviews or make a copy of it, it's there. And, my idea is it'll be free, but if people want to donate to the museum because they're going to maintain it.
Right.
I think that was the way to go. I couldn't throw it out.
No.
I couldn't throw it out.
In good faith, you can't.
So that's one step in what we've been working on.
Before you go to the next step, and I want to hear the next step, obviously.
That's because we're here.
That's why we're here.
I thought you just wanted me to tell you. Thought you were
My-
taking me to dinner. You fooled me.
Burger King is open.
Okay.
I
Wait, we'll go get some takeout.
when my father kept a scrapbooks on me, and I never
The
realized
DA kept a mug book. Same
Right?
thing.
that was a different issue.
Okay.
Pa and Da. So I would every once in a while I would see him there, and and then he would put it away, and he kept it under the chair. Then I realized there was a lot of them under different chairs. Like he would always have it in the chair that he always sat in.
Mm-hmm.
So when he passed away, there were about 9 of these gigantic books that he actually kept a log from the very first time I sang. Then he had a pack of things that he never got to. So the choice was, what do you do with this? So I actually went out and bought those things myself, and I actually finished the job. And now I pay $70 a month to store them in a storage unit. And nobody's ever going to care about them, But in your case, it's different because it was involved in so many people,
Yeah.
But
Well, that was the idea. Like I said, the number of people who met in the theater and got married, have families. We had 2 weddings at our house from theater people. It was.
you said it. The Staten Island theater community became a family.
Yeah.
And I have to say, our generation, I wasn't involved in it till later on and always peripherally, but the camaraderie that happened around the 1970s that continues today. And we all know the names,
Sure.
My next 2 guests, yourself, Jennifer, the Callahans, Diane Zerager and her crew. I mean, we could go on and on.
Sure.
They became the teachers for the next generation, and their enthusiasm started all these different things that are going on right now. And a lot of people don't realize it. It would be nice just to make some sort of a statement and a story or an evening where these people are recognized. They don't even realize what they did.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people don't realize that they were all in theater and had such a feel for it that they brought it out to so many people. It was amazing. It was happening.
Absolutely.
Anyway, again, you had number 2, and
So-
I stopped you.
When Jennifer passed.
We got to save 2 minutes for tomorrow.
Well, you got to. You're watching the clock.
I'm watching
not
the
me.
clock. I'll tell you. All right, go
As a
ahead.
matter of fact, you always were a clock watcher. It's in
Not
your
me.
It's in your resume.
Remember what Sinatra said: "If you're not early, you're late."
Right.
So, go ahead.
So when Jen passed, the 3 things I thought about that she was involved with were On Your Mark,
Right.
where Gregory lives in one of the group homes, and
Right.
that was it. That was basically helped
That's a big thing.
keep us going as a family because he was
taken care of properly.
Take care of properly, and
Right.
otherwise it was 24/7
Right.
of taking care of him. So we asked people to donate to On Your Mark, and they did. We asked people to donate to Temple Israel because Temple Israel was her home away from home.
I remember.
She was involved in everything there, people did that, and they've now Jennifer ran the community Seder at Passover every year for I don't know how many years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she'd boil 120 eggs, so there'd be hard-boiled eggs.
Right.
She'd make harosas for 100 people,
Yeah.
which is the apple dish.
Right.
I had to do the apples, but I peel potatoes in the army. I can do apples.
You
in
can
the,
do
in
that.
the
No
dining
big
room, right?
deal, yeah.
And so they've named it now the Jennifer Straniere Community Seder.
How great.
Yeah, and so
As it
that's
should be.
coming up April 15th. And then the third place was the College of Staten Island because of her dedication to the students there. Now, she always wanted the students to get the most out of the production. She paid for stuff out of her pocket all the time. Where you going? I'm going to Flemington, New Jersey to pick up the props because that's the only
Right,
place that has.
of course.
That's it's a 2-hour.
way to
I'm
do
going.
it,
I'm
yeah.
going. So we decided we would be appropriate to have a scholarship in her name at the College of Staten Island. an endowed scholarship so that it's
In perpetuity, right?
All right, and it's a $100,000 commitment. We raised initially some money, and then Amanda, my daughter, did a fundraiser for her birthday and raised some more money. Felita Wondolowski, who's our second family, right? She did her birthday, raised some more money, and then we spoke to the college, and we've set up the scholarship through Gift Gab, and we're I put in money, Amanda put in money, but we're about at the almost at $50,000.
That's amazing.
About halfway there, and basically
Well, it's doable.
6 months.
It
It's
proves
doable.
that it's doable.
Right,
yeah.
right. Now, at Jennifer's wake, her students came up and said, "We want to name the black box after her at the theater because that's what she worked out. That was her
Right,
space."
That was her moment. Yeah.
And so we've spoken to CSI, and CSI is in favor of the concept, but it's not a CSI decision. It's a CUNY decision.
Right.
And as with many universities, everything has a price tag.
Has a number.
And if the choice is scholarship, we're putting her name on a wall someplace. She would want the scholarship. She'd want to know that she's
Right.
helping kids.
Absolutely.
And doesn't have, that her name
Right.
is be remembered that way. So that's basically what we're working on.
Right.
She got to see Abby in her first performance.
That's great.
Because they did a Zoom of Annie, kids Annie, and that's so
She was able to see that.
She was able to see it
She
right
must
before
have
she
flipped
passed,
on
yeah.
that. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, you mentioned it before, 21 years we did the Rotary show.
Right.
And Jennifer was at every one. There was one where she only can make 2 days and then so I forgot who did it, but she still did it, even
Right.
though she didn't say, well, he'll take the rehearsals and I'll take, it was that was the only one that, and she didn't miss
Yeah,
it. She
yeah,
still did it,
yeah.
and it was my famous lines. We had 60 people in the chorus. We had about 35 people at that time before I combined it with the theater people, and then we had like maybe 8 people in the band, and then we had another 5 people. So it was like 125 people on stage. Only Jennifer could have it to the point where it was like highways. You knew you had to go this way there, that way there, all things done, 14, 16 microphones later. It was just an amazing piece of work. And as we were talking, professional is a pro is a pro.
Right.
And you hand something to a pro, and there's a reason why you call them a pro, and they're going to do it probably 99.9%. We saved the mistake. There's always
Yeah.
a mistake somewhere, but not with Jennifer. It was there. In fact, if you made a mistake and you blamed her, she'd say, "Well, the truth of the matter is, the other day when I told you," and all of a sudden you're right. And then she would laugh.
She was very organized.
Oh,
So
my
fortunately, everything had a file. So I was able to give the temple of their files,
Right.
whatever other organization files. The museum has taken some stuff because it's this history of Staten Island and so many
Right.
things that
Of course.
So, but that was.
Are you working other events to raise this money? I'm sure you
Not-
are thinking them.
Well, right now, we're still trying to work it through the family and friends, basically.
Right.
And then we'll see where we are, and if we're going to do something every year
Right.
to keep,
Right.
replenishing the.
Well,
pot.
that's a very interesting, a yearly event or 2 a year that
Right.
would always be, they could get into the curriculum, so to speak, the Staten Island curriculum, not the school, and where it would always repeat,
Well, people, sent notes and stuff, and I was
Right.
amazed at the things she did for people.
Right.
That she would never tell me anything
Yeah,
about.
I
I just
agree.
moved to Staten Island. I didn't know anybody. Jennifer took me. She said, "I'm going to meet you. Introduce them. You're going to meet Al Lambert. You're going to meet
yeah.
Wayne Miller. They're
Right.
going to help you."
It's
Again,
amazing. It's amazing. She was just
never
amazing.
heard.
Never heard a word of it.
Never heard a word.
Again,
But then again, we never spoke to each other. So it was,
well, you're not supposed to.
After 50 years, what's that to say?
Talking is overrated. But when my former wife We have a standard joke here in the theater. I won't use the standard joke. When she was doing costumes,
Yeah.
And every show cost me $750 to $1,000.
Of course.
I said, but you got to. It's a business, but it's not a business, and I need this. And I get it because what happens, the kids are involved. And when I started with the theater, I started with the kids, and I stuck around. She stuck around. The kids said, "I'm out of here."
Yeah, right.
So you wind up catching on, but so you couldn't do the job with the money's allotted. And that's why I know what you mean when it costs money and this and that. The money wasn't there on some of these productions.
And she always wanted it to look right. If it was a period piece, it had to look right.
Exactly.
We want,
had to look right, Well, that film that was shown, that Jack Nisi and several others were involved. I think Wayne was mentioned. He did the lighting. That night for the Minty.
Yeah.
That was it was a clip, and I realized the larger thing wasn't shown, but it was really impressive.
Yeah.
It was an impressive clip, and it even though again it was short, it really got the moment. It caught the moment of her.
Yeah, I mentioned it when I went to Rotary that she would immediately put people at ease about something. I think it's Christine Andres has a developmentally disabled son as well, and Jennifer either she was working, she appeared at Nicotra's, and either Jennifer was working there or we were invited, and Richie said, "Oh, you two have something in common," and talk about kids. Two pros, but we're talking about kids.
Right.
Or when she worked at the Source Foundation in Manhattan, where she worked with Joel Gray, Francis McDormand.
Yeah, she had some great
bunch of
names.
other people. I can't remember the family. Also, the actress's brother was developmentally disabled.
Right.
So they were talking about how that affected the family and stuff. So she always was like with a people person and knew how to put someone at ease.
Absolutely. When Audie Lauder, my famous Audie Lauder story. I don't know if you ever heard this story.
Right.
And Audie texts me and calls me all the time, and he makes me die laughing. But anyway, he comes over. He had that show. We were doing a show. He had the flag. I forgot what it was. He was doing a Neil Diamond thing, I think it was. And he comes over and he goes, I need around 6 more seconds before that curtain closes. So I go, well, I have to see what I can do. So I go back to Jennifer. Jennifer, I got a little issue with Audie. She goes, Audie, he came back to me 5 times already. I said, well, he needs 6 seconds. She said, I'll tell you what, he gets 3. We got down to how many seconds. So I went back to Audie. I said, you didn't tell me you went back to Jennifer 5 times. He said, well, he figured if you went to me. I said, you got 3. We're giving you 3. That's true.
But she knew about organization. That whatever the event is, you need a script.
Right.
So time to...
Getting close.
So at Passover, she would always go to the rabbi, time.
Right.
And then after you get through, say, Rabbi, I have notes for you. When are we getting together?
Definitely. I think we're going to go over to our singer.
Yeah.
Are you close to ready now? Because it's almost over.
Great.
Okay. So you're in the production, right? All right. And with the Callahans, the Staten Island.
Miss Melissa, right?
Yeah, Miss Melissa.
Miss Melissa, okay.
Rowan Ed's daughter.
Okay. Rowan Ed's daughter. So do you want to sing it or introduce it or say anything before you sing it?
I want to sing it.
Okay. So we can't wait. You sang it beautiful in the green room, too. Go ahead.
Whenever you're ready.
The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick up my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, I love ya, it's a day away.
What can I say? That was terrific. Absolutely terrific. You have beautiful voice.
So, at the funeral, we wanted to have some music. And
Right.
Nick found out Jennifer's favorite song was Sunrise Sunset.
Right.
And Ryan
Kelly.
Sang it.
Right.
And again, a pro
Right.
who was one of Jennifer's kids.
Right.
And as she started, and I could see, I don't know if she's going to do this.
Yeah.
Because it was
It's
too
very hard.
emotional. But then the pro kicked in.
Right.
And she took the deep breath and knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
So we also wanted to finish with Tomorrow.
Right.
And Karen Schleifer, who was in Annie
town,
on Broadway,
right.
and she did Annie, the first Annie we did on Staten Island, was going to sing Tomorrow. And we're talking about who's going to sing tomorrow because we didn't know whether Karen was going to make it, if
Right.
Ryan was going to do it.
Right.
Donna was gotten the people for us to to perform. And Abby says, I can sing tomorrow.
Wow.
And so at the funeral, Karen picks her up, and Abby
Isn't
sings,
that beautiful?
ends the service singing Tomorrow.
Wow. That's wonderful. Beautiful.
Does a great job.
Yeah. They can be very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, I've had a lot of similar situations.
Now, if people are interested in the scholarship,
Yes. Lay that on
it's,
us now.
checks can be made to the CSI Foundation
Mm-hmm.
at the College of Staten Island, and I've referenced the Jennifer Sraniere scholarship. Don't make it payable to the scholarship because then it's not, they have
Right.
to refund the check. Well, there's a gift gab site. The CSI Foundation is a gift gab. You go on there, you can click.
I got to find out about
donations.
that. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm going to
Okay.
get you some
Yeah,
information.
give me information on that.
Maybe
That's
other
great.
groups can use it.
Well, I mentioned this to you before. I'd like to do something at some point. You know,
Yeah,
you tell me
yeah.
we're ready, and I used to do these big extravaganzas. Now I'm into keeping it simple.
Right.
You know, so down
KISS,
the road,
the KISS rule.
I'm using the KISS rule in the rest of my life. If 10 minutes or 10 years. So we'll talk about that. All right, we'll talk about that. I'll figure out how to do that.
I appreciate it. You know, you've been good friends for all these years.
Are you
and,
kidding? Yeah, I want to do something.
You're another guy who likes, no isn't a way to answer to anything.
There is no. There's
Always, we just haven't figured out the
having
way we're
it
doing it.
exactly correct.
So,
Philip,
thank you.
you're the best.
Thank you.
Like I said before, we all got to say we love each other. I love
Right.
you, man.
I love you, man. Yeah. You happy?
You're a doll.
Good
Thank you for
job.
coming on. This is something we're all going to remember for a long time. I'm glad you
Right.
did a great job. And Missy, what do they call her? Missy,
Abby.
no, the Callahan.
Melissa.
Missy Melissa.
Miss Melissa.
Miss Melissa.
Miss Melissa is going to be happy to see you and sing on television. We got to tell her. All right?
Okay.
Thank you, Al.
So my next guests need no introduction, but they'll be getting one. Donna D Ermilio. I always screw that up. Okay, and Donna is a very famous musical person on Staten Island, and she was the music director and for everything over at St. Joseph Hill. What was your correct title? Because
Well, I'm a music teacher, but I directed and music directed the plays,
plays
for
and
many
things.
years,
There you go.
and
Okay. I don't wanna screw that
and the
up.
Hill Singers, which is the choral group.
right, I was going to mention that, but I wasn't. And her husband, who she takes care of very well, Wayne Miller. But we're going to hear more from Wayne later. We're giving Donna her.
I know.
We're giving her Donna 5. You're taking an hour and a half.
I'm going to keep it low key for a while. My poor wife. We get started, she won't get a word in
important.
it.
So Donna, talk to me. So are you semi-retired now, or what did you do?
I wouldn't call it that. I went from teaching full-time to part-time this year, and
That's good.
I no longer direct the shows.
Okay.
The last one I did was right before the lockdown, I guess 2019, we did Once Upon a Mattress,
Okay.
which just this past summer, the Minty Awards that you mentioned
I was
before-
there at the
Right.
St. George Theater.
Right. They kind of did a little tribute for myself and my choreographer, Loretta
Yes.
O'Hara.
Yes, I
And
saw that. That was
now a
beautiful.
young lady named Samantha Hermanson has taken up
Okay.
the reins of the play.
Great.
But I'm still doing most of the other musical duties in the school, like
Oh, good.
the masses, the
Oh, that's
graduation,
great.
the Christmas.
So you're not semi-retired.
So, and teaching several classes. So
Good. So
Yeah,
you're smack
it's good.
involved.
yeah,
And that's the right way.
Right.
Well, when music is something you never want to really retire from.
you can't.
You can't.
You can't. No.
It's in your blood, and that's how it works. I know you have something there that. Tell me a little bit.
Well, I figured this was a good opportunity. My choral group
Absolutely.
is doing a concert coming up April 29th, and it's at the St. Joseph Hill Auditorium, and you can go on their website. There's a link to it. I guess you put that up maybe on the screen.
Sure.
And
Raoul.
you'd have to go to St. Joseph Hill Academy, but spell out SAINT for Saint.
Gotcha.
And 8 o'clock, and you will hear a terrific group of 15 girls. And they would be singing some Broadway show tunes, a lot of new repertoire, because we haven't done a formal concert in 2 years.
Yeah, no.
And they missed it. They really did. But, boy, when they get together, they sound like, double the amount of
How
girls.
great is that?
Yeah.
Well, they're semi-pros, we'll say it for want of a better word. They're young, but they're pros,
Well, and a number of them, as you mentioned with Abby before, they came up through the Children's Theater,
Yeah,
through
right.
the Callahans,
Right.
and then quite a few. The other teachers, as you were saying, who trained them in the junior highs, and Diane Zarega was part of that for many years in the junior high, and then Susan Wagner. And Tracy Rosenberg from IS-24, they're all tremendous teachers. And when I get a student that has come from one of those schools or through the Children's
Right.
Theater, I get all excited because
Because
they're
you know
so
where they were
good.
going to be at. When in 1863, when I went to St. Peter's, there weren't shows on Staten Island. And I'll never forget Brother Peter. He was the assistant principal. He called me in one day. He says, "You don't belong here. You belong in the High School for the Performing Arts." And I said, well, where is it? What did I know? I knew eggplant parmesan. I knew those kinds of things. So he said to me, it's in New York. I said, I would have to travel to New York. I'd love to go there, but I doubt it. Well, you mentioned that to your father. My father, that wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have things in the early 60s.
Right.
Carl Lesch's first show in 64 was the year after I graduated. So I grew up in St. Peter's Glee Club. That was the closest thing you
Right.
had on Staten Island to and he put 2 shows a year. And I used to love it. And then in my senior year, I was president of the Glee Club. That was like being the quarterback for the football team.
Right.
Because we didn't have one.
Right.
And there were no shows. So Carl Lesch was the guy who taught me sound, and he taught me how to sound out notes and how not to be rough. So I learned, like you're talking
Yeah.
about, in group. You didn't learn.
Yeah.
I didn't have a private
No.
teacher.
No.
But my children learned from you and others
And they were great.
by watching and seeing. They didn't know they were learning.
Right. They just
Right.
absorbed it.
Right.
They absorbed it.
They absorbed it.
So you play masses there too, you said?
Yeah.
So the
When we
masses,
have a special day, like St. Joseph's Day just passed,
Right.
and Christmas, and dedication of the new chapel, and
I
they had a
see.
centennial
Okay,
last
okay,
year,
okay.
and there's
Every
special
time one of the
occasions.
nuns has a birthday, they have to.
right.
They do.
I get it. Nothing
we
wrong
do
with it.
we do
Nothing wrong
special
with that.
things. Yeah.
But it's funny because I didn't know they had a chapel there.
Oh yeah, but no, these are school masses. It's still in the auditorium.
I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're for the school.
I mean, my daughter went there for a year, but then that was it.
In the convent, on the grounds of the school, gorgeous chapel, because evidently the family that lived there in what is now the convent were very devout, and they built their own chapel.
Wow, that's
Years ago, rich
amazing.
people had their own church right in
Yeah,
the house,
well,
and it was
as it should
it's
be.
a beautiful
well,
little chapel.
you were talking about the original one that
The original
yeah,
one that burned down,
Yeah,
but
they had a
they
fire,
rebuilt
yeah.
it.
Know that.
Yeah.
Well, St. John's Villa, where I went when I was a kid, was right up the street, and there was St. John's Villa Grammar School. Wasn't it was girl and boy. Same thing with St. Joseph Hill. So they were our competitors.
Right.
St. John's and St. Joseph was very competitive in the grammar school, especially. And when it snowed, we all had to walk down Fingerboard Road, and we would have snow fights. And the St. Josephville was across the street, and we were by the Bethlehem home, which was recently knocked down. Recently, it's 23 years to me.
That's a long time.
And we would have snowball fights. That was the big deal. Anyway,
That's funny.
I'm so glad that you stayed in. You're staying in the game and not doing any of that.
Yeah, but
I mean-
but the part-time allows me time to get back into music on the side, though, too, you know.
There you go. Right.
know, so-
Which means playing for
Playing, yeah,
right.
like Philip mentioned the Temple Israel being such a part of Jennifer's
Right.
life, and a lot of her friends, we were very familiar with her friends through the Temple, and Mickey and Karen Tenenbaum, and Mickey's daughter and their granddaughter Katie were part of a cabaret night that I played for in November. And that was a lot of fun to do.
Oh,
That was a lot of fun.
that's
And
great. So now you can do these things.
yeah.
Yeah, well, you kind of like me. You get stuck in your making a living and dedicated, because sometimes
It's time
not-
consuming, yeah.
it's not, and because you'll stay later, you'll do this.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. You know, but I'm glad you did that. I know your mother passed recently.
Yeah.
And condolences. And you had a mom like me. They loved everything you did.
Oh, front row seat at every show.
Front row seat at every show.
And you know what?
As his mom and dad, I remember.
My mom always liked to sit on the orchestra side for obvious reasons, but she
Right.
got to be friends with all of the guys in the band. And they would come over and they'd tease her and they'd be talking to her
Right.
during the intermission.
Yeah.
It was really something.
Yeah, it was
She
great
knew
to
them all.
see. Well, I knew Karen O'Donnell's mom and dad, to get yet to know them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I knew Diane Zerager, her family. So many different, the Callahans. Vinnie Callahan,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rose's father, would come and
Dorello,
sit with
yeah.
me when I had the used car lot for 2 years
Yeah.
after Toyota and before Villa Marin. And he would sit there all day. We'd go get coffee. You know, he became my friend, and he had great stories. So we all got to know each other's parents. And
Yeah.
in the entertainment/theater community, and it was a wonderful thing. You
Yeah.
know, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. I'm going to move over to my buddy here for a minute, but I feel free to interject as you see fit.
Boy.
In fact, I have an interject switch you can have. Anyway, so Dr. Miller, so it has to be known that, Wayne was my first guest on the show about 10 years ago.
Yes, the first.
You
were the
show,
first guest.
First show, and we haven't been here in over 2 years.
Yeah, a couple of
you know,
years.
and it's
COVID.
funny. So I'll give you the Reader's Digest. What do you do for 2 years when you can't do anything? You know, this is what you do. And I think I
got fat. I know what I
may
did.
have told you I was fortunate. I got cast in a movie, and I was working on the movie in March of 2020. And we were shooting in a diner. The name of the movie was Philly's Diner. It was shown at the Cannes Film Festival,
that's
last
big.
summer. And they made a deal with the diner owner. It was a 24-hour diner in Queens, but they closed the diner at 11 o'clock. And we would film in the diner from 11 till 6 in the morning.
Right.
So we were there for a whole week, every night, 11 to 6 in the morning. We wrapped the film at 6 o'clock on March 13th, 2020. I will never forget that date, because I got in my car and I'm driving home on the Belt Parkway and I'm listening to the news, and the news said, well, the city of New York is about to shut down. The schools are going to close, the restaurants are going to close, everything's going to close.
When you think back, traumatic.
Right. And then we sat for a year
Yeah.
and did nothing. There was no theater, there was no television production,
I
there was
woke
no
up and I
movie.
was 2 years old.
Right, you
More,
woke up.
2 years older.
It was exactly 1 year and 5 days later that I went to work for the first time wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And I worked on another film, and it was scary. You were afraid to take the mask
I
off.
know.
You couldn't, I did,
Well,
please.
We don't do politics on the show.
No, but now it seems as though maybe the worst of that horror is behind
I
us,
think it's one step above, it seems like.
and maybe now we'll be able to go back to work again, and we'll be able to do the things that I know you've been performing pretty regularly, and Midtown.
Yeah, when I could, I
and
did.
do that kind of stuff. And Donna's girls are able to sing again on a stage.
Which is great.
And you
But
know.
the plane still has the masks. We've been flying back and
Well,
forth to
you
Florida.
know,
And I understand it's a closed area, you know, and listen, it's protecting me
You
as
know,
well.
so
I'll put them on where demanded.
And the theaters,
You know,
too.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
put them on where
And,
demanded. But I think it's more gone than not. I also think,
I hope.
you know, other
I really
than
do.
variants that will be closer to innocuous than it was those other
Yeah.
variants.
Yeah.
So when I say still be around, it'll be around. But if we're not 2 years smarter now,
Well, this is
what is this? We were blindsided, you know.
Oh,
So if we're
please.
not 2 years smarter with all the brains in this world and country, then where the hell are we?
Right.
So at some point we have to accept that and try to move on. Secondly, we are blessed. Like we just said, we were bored. We
Right.
But we're here.
Well, we made it, yeah. And a lot of,
made it.
I mean,
People
God bless,
died
a lot of
and
people
friends of
didn't. It was,
ours and-
very
Oh,
close friends,
Jesus.
relatives. We
Oh,
lost family
God.
members. It
So-
was horrible. And you're right.
It's a two-way street. It's,
you know,
yeah, we went through it mentally, and I'm sure we're going to be affected by it for the rest of our lives. But we, in fact, came out on the other side.
Right. And hopefully now, like I say, we move forward and
Right.
things seem to be, you know, I talk to the casting people and I talk to my agent. You know, I have an agent. you
Right.
know,
Does he have a big cigar?
she has a big cigar.
Well, she has a big cigar.
She's like Joey's agent on Friends. you know. I think I got a job you fit, Joey. You know. She's a wonderful lady.
Wonderful lady. So go finish the story.
She lives in the Bronx, so she won't see this. But that's okay. But she's a wonderful. But she says things are coming back, and my phone
they
rings
are.
now, and my
Yeah,
email
and they
clicks
are.
off. So things are good.
When I worked for
very good.
Dangerfield, he had an agent, and I went to the Friars Club, and I was invited to the Friars Club with Scott Record and all these people in Dangerfield, and it was the day that Phyllis Diller came in dressed as a man, and she was the first female in the Friars Club.
She
makes
infiltrated.
But
sense.
nobody knew she was there.
She infiltrated.
As none of us did, and all of
Wow.
a sudden that unfolded in front of me. I happened to be, it was a historic moment.
That's great. Yeah.
So anyway, she starts taking and the place went nuts. But before that, we were all having sane conversations, and Dangerfield's agent was there. He says, you know, Dangerfield's finally making money the last 10 years. And, you know, I was with this guy a long time. He says, when I call him, he says, if he doesn't pick up on the third ring, I send an ambulance.
See, well, that's it. You know, that's it. So it's funny,
So
but
that's the deal.
but you know, you have to be grateful. I mean, Eileen stayed with me through the pandemic, and she would call me. You all right? I want to know what's
Right.
going on. You know, I don't have any work for you,
She
but
cared.
but she cared.
Yeah,
and,
she knew-
and, so
she wasn't sleeping. There was no
Right.
work to get
right.
for you.
No, but she, you know, she took care of her roster, and that's the good news. So that's what's going on. Because you bring me here and you make me follow a kid, I'm not going to say anything about
But this
that.
kid's
that,
going to remember you for the rest of her life.
Well,
because this is going on YouTube, baby.
you know, and of course, Jennifer directed the first production of Annie that I was in, and then several subsequent productions of Annie. And
You want to do your version of tomorrow?
no,
Okay,
no,
go ahead.
no, don't. You know, let the kids sing. You know, that's this little one is just so adorable, and so with it, and so wonderful.
And she did it
And she did it. And I don't know if you were doing, because I couldn't see your feet, but I was sitting over there, and I'm tapping my
time
foot,
was right
and her
there.
time was right on.
Even
you know,
at the end
and,
when she
and
went,
right, and her pitch is so good, and she's a
The
little
only
bit
a
right.
day.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
She
She nailed that.
counted
Yeah,
it
she
down.
nailed it.
She's just terrific. And there's in the original staging, and when we did it the first time, Jennifer tried to follow the original staging very much. There's a scene where Christmas happens at the Warbucks Mansion,
Right.
you know, and the littlest orphan is named Molly.
Right, I
She's a
remember
little
that.
tiny thing, much like Abigail, and everybody gets a present, and this girl grabs the present and she runs right to the center stage and she cuddles up and she's trying to open the present, and she's so little. that Warbucks picks her up like he's picking up a pillow,
Right.
and she never moves. And he just carries
Oh,
it
I
to the other
remember.
side
That
of the
was a
stage,
great
and he puts
scene.
it down.
Yeah.
That's
And
after Drake steps over her.
yeah,
a couple of
the
times, right?
butler
And
steps
then
over her
over.
because he's afraid to touch her. And then Warbucks picks her up, puts her out of the way. And all I could think of was this little one here.
Yeah, she
So
fit
she'd
the
be
bill, yeah.
perfect as,
Yeah,
as,
you're right.
as a Molly. So, and I'm sure someone will do another production.
They should.
of Annie, and
I had to
and
take my
she'll be
daughter to see
ready.
that movie 61 times.
Oh,
She was,
Wow.
because in those days there was no videos,
That's right.
right.
and
right.
there was a couple, but I didn't have any. And I took her 61 times. She
God,
saw that
wow.
movie.
Yeah.
That was her life.
I am going to remind you because I love to tell this
Go
story.
ahead.
Before the show
told you
opened,
that- yeah, that was-
they released that song that
Right.
she sang called "Tomorrow,
Right.
Tomorrow,
And
Tomorrow,
I-
Tomorrow." Donna was working at Shermer Music, right, a big music
I
store
love Shermer.
in
Oh,
Manhattan.
it's a great
And I
place.
said, there's this new song coming out that's going to be part of this big show. And she gave me the sheet music, and I went to visit you, and we went
I took
and
you
we
to my
went
mother's
we went
house.
to your mother's house, and you played it on the piano. And you looked at me and you
Can
went,
I say it?
I don't
This song will
think-
never make it.
I don't think this song's any
He's
good
told
at
me
all.
that many times, and I can't. I said no.
I
I'll never
admit
say
it. I always
I'll
tell
never
the
say
story.
I
Wayne
know.
goes, I said,
And-
Wayne, that song
and
will
here it
make
is.
it.
Please, Albert. It's like, nah. I don't think there's anything
Yeah.
going on
Now-
here.
you know now never to trust.
But no,
I'm
you
glad
you
you
made up
brought it
for
up, 'cause I-
it. You made up for it with two others.
Okay,
You,
okay.
you made up for it with "Please Love Me for Christmas,"
Yeah.
which I still think is one of the
Right.
prettiest Christmas
That's all I
songs.
want.
That's
Uh,
all I want for
Christmas.
Christmas.
Well,
That's all I
whatever.
want for
Nancy Wilson.
Nancy
Yeah.
Wilson tune, and "Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most."
There you go.
Great song.
Especially
Which is
uh,
a great
second
song.
one. And in fact, they had a
yeah.
big thing about it on the radio the other day about that song.
That's a great
It was
song.
in a play that lasted 6 weeks on Broadway.
That's right. That's
and
right.
it never made it. But the song came
Gorgeous.
out
Yeah.
to
Gorgeous
become
too.
this jazz
Yeah.
kind of thing, So
Yeah.
you never know in life. I'm having as my guest on Wednesday, Randy Edelman. I don't know if you heard Randy.
Yeah.
He wrote A Weekend in New England.
Right.
He
Yeah.
wrote the music for Anaconda. He wrote the music for My Cousin Vinny, all that background.
Oh, right.
I mean, this guy, and then he had big hit in the 80s. I've Googled it a few times. It's a #1 hit. And long story how I got him, and I'm having a piano brought in for him, and he'll be here. We're going to do like a special.
Oh, that'll be very
And then Ro
nice.
can run it, as she sees fit. But his agent said to me, he may want you to sing it. And it's so funny. I did a lot of Barrio, listen to me, the pizza joint. I did a lot. Of Barrio.
You worked Barrios a few
Barrios,
times.
yeah, I worked there in the back. But I did Barry Manilow years ago.
Yeah, you
but I
did.
haven't done it. I never did that one.
Yeah, no.
So that's
So Lenoir's gonna-
pretty tune.
Yeah, he's going
Pretty
to.
tune.
Lenoir's going to print me up the words, and I'll get it on the thing.
Yeah.
And I'll do it, I guess, if he wants me to.
He's-
I'll make him sing the bridge because the bridge is a little difficult.
He's married to a very, very famous vocalist down at Loudis,
I didn't.
Jackie DeShannon.
Oh yes, I
He is
saw that.
married,
For
and
a
been,
long
been
time.
married to
Yeah,
her for
long time.
years and
Yes,
years and years.
yes.
Yeah. What the world needs now
There you
is
go.
love. That's Jackie
Yeah.
DeShannon.
Yep.
Who defined a generation with that
With
Burt
that-
Bacharach song.
Yeah,
It's
with
not
that
his song.
tune, not his song.
Not his song.
Anyway,
but,
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you should. That's
Yeah, looking
he's
forward
that's
to
a, he's a
that.
he's a big guy.
Yeah,
Big guy.
from what I hear.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he is, but
Yeah.
I
No,
know
it
he's
was
done
very-
a lot of films and
Yeah, a lot of
TV.
film work.
Wait, he did the MacGyver theme, I think.
Did he?
I think
Okay,
that
could
was-
be. He had so many,
Yeah,
so
there were a
many
lot.
things that he wrote. I mean, he's got tunes on Streisand albums. He's got tunes on, but some of them were not the tune,
Right.
but they were recognizable.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he should be a great guest.
Oh, that's going to be terrific.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Let's mention Frank.
Well, I hate to almost bring this up
No,
because
but
it's such a tragedy,
it's-
but
deserves it. We're in the show business. This is what we do.
I'm not sure when this will air, but as we're taping this, we're getting ready to begin the funeral process for a guy from Staten Island who really defined live entertainment production
You're
on
right.
this island for
You're right. 35,
35
40 years, yeah.
almost 40 years. Whose name was Frank Provenzano, who was the founder and owner of Pro Show Sound and Light, which is a major production company that not only here, but Florida, Long Island, New England,
The Hamptons.
The Hamptons.
A few years ago, he had Sting.
Sting, he
was
used to
doing
do the concerts at Sting's house on the beach.
and Bon Jovi. He was doing
Right.
Bon Jovi.
A major guy and a sweet
Prince
man.
too. He did. He was doing
Yeah.
Prince out there.
Yeah, and we lost him recently, and it's just a true tragedy. A young man, and
Terrific. guy.
and he was
Absolutely
so
great guy.
important in the community. And I know the theme is people who help other people and
right.
things that he did, but the back to the beach.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
he was instrumental in making that happen. For years, he ran bikers for the March of Dimes, and then that became bikers for. First, it was
Albini
bikers
Foundation.
bikers for babies.
Right.
Then it became bikers for
Beanie,
Beanie,
right.
and he would bring to the Staten Island Mall, because I would work one of the stages for him, and was happy to do it. This huge amount of talent. I mean, huge amount of talent.
knew them all.
And that would get up, and then 1,000 guys on motorcycles would pay money to go there
was
and then
amazing.
drive around Staten Island. He raised hundreds, like you did
Yeah.
with the Rotary, hundreds
He
of
was
$1,000s for
quite
charity.
that way. And he was at every one of those shows. He helped me.
Right, and he did all of the Rotary
Yeah.
shows, all
And
of
at
that.
a ridiculously sensible price.
And for many years did them at Hill.
Right, he
you
did.
go.
He
Yeah.
did the Hill shows.
Did
Did
our shows.
many of the school shows. If there's any solace in this, it's that although Frank is gone, his partner Massimo, Massimo De Donna, and his other, guys in his company have all announced this is not going to stop.
No.
They're going to keep going.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to happen. And I know Allison.
And
I know she's going to be involved.
His
as a
partner
natural,
is going to let that. He's going to keep that going. And like I say, I don't want to. You hate to cast downward on this, but Frank deserves that kind of recognition. He really
does.
He was a dear friend and
Well,
a great guy.
we had a lot of interesting times, and one of my worst times, one of the worst days of my life, he was with me on the phone every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes, until the end of the day. I couldn't sleep, but I think a bottle of 43 helped me. But and he never forgot. I never forgot it, And certain things just you'll never forget. I did take him, as I have done to many people. Several, I shouldn't say many, maybe 6, 7, 8 people, to Father Capodanno's grave, because so many miracles are attributed to Father Vincent. And, there were certain people that had asked me, or I asked them, because I would love to have one of those miracles happen,
Yeah.
So we went, and we prayed together, and then I always leave and give them their time, and so many of them go back. In the Catholic Church, the saint doesn't do the work, but the saint intercedes for you to Jesus, and that's how it kind of goes. He's like, the saint is the lawyer. God, I got to talk to you.
Right.
But anyway, we've had many a time, and Frankie there will be tributes, as Philip is doing for Jennifer.
Right.
As we were talking about it, this particular show was about the great loss of Jennifer Straniere.
Sure,
And now
sure.
we're talking about the great
Yeah.
loss of Frank.
Yeah.
And,
Two huge influences on
Two
live
huge
performance.
influences,
in our
in our time.
in our time and in our little world.
world,
This
yeah.
little Staten Island is part of New
It's a
York
great
City.
community.
It's its own little special place.
It's a great
and those of us who
community.
live here get touched by these people.
Absolutely
And-
right. We
and
become family,
right? And both of them, Jen.
Oh, my God.
I really hope that we're able to get this scholarship thing completely funded, and
It's got to happen.
it's got to happen,
I have to do
and that will
something.
perpetuate her in an environment that she just loved. She loved those
my
kids.
God.
She loved that theater.
If I do
She-
something,
please.
as I think about it, I think I would like to amass the theater community to do something, where we could have unless you already have that on.
What we're talking about, and I
If
spoke
not, I'll
with-
do my own thing.
No, I spoke to Philip about it, and I think that
We could roast you again.
no, that's okay. That's okay. I'm well done. Thank you. I don't need to be roasted. And no, I think there's going to be
Something
sort of
already.
an
All right,
event
good,
in
okay.
plans, maybe over the summer coming up.
Good.
That the proceeds of which will go
Will
to the
go
scholarship.
there.
But I don't think that's going to be sufficient. He's got a
Right.
big goal.
I'll do my own event.
Maybe
Right.
another
Another
event.
event,
that would
another
be,
avenue. Right.
and we'll all work towards that.
Toward
We'll all-
that. Right.
we'll,
Be there anyway, as
Right.
we say.
Well, of course, we're going to be there.
We
and
have a
that's it.
little time. We have about a minute.
So
2
Donna,
minutes.
you have to sing
Yeah,
Hard
you-
Day,
right.
Hard Knock Life.
Oh, now I
My
have to sing
favorite-
another
You're in the-
Annie
you're in the
song.
singing-
song.
I have
you're
to
in the
sing
singing
another
chair,
Annie
I love
so-
It's a Hard Knock Life. I love that. But I also love Maybe Far Away.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Which is the killer for an audition because
Yeah,
of the
yeah, well,
range.
The range, but it's so beautiful.
It's a tough
That's the
thing.
range. And then after that, it's all belt.
It's all belts.
After
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
My daughter and Tammy Taversi met auditioning for Jennifer Straniere for
Wow.
a production of Annie.
Probably.
They met in the hallway at the
Probably.
college, which was the College of Staten Island, and they've
The
been
old-
friends ever
yeah.
since that day.
Wow.
The
We got a
Petrini
minute and
School
13. What do you got on the mark now for
Right now, well,
60? Not even 60.
I have a television show. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to air, called Where Murder Lies, that is going to be on the Investigation Discovery Network. That'll be coming out over the next month, I think. And it's called, oh Lord, oh man, wait a second. That's the name of the show. The episode has Killer Cuts, because the woman who murdered. Well, I'm outing it here.
That's right. Yeah, don't out it.
The criminal is a hairdresser.
Okay.
Okay, so it's called Killer Cuts,
gotcha.
and that's on the Investigation Discovery Network. And then I wrapped a film last night, a wonderful film called The Anderson Family Breakfast.
Is that going to be on
And it's
regular
a-
TV?
I don't know where
Okay.
it's going to, these things go into post-production, it won't be out for 6 months, and then it goes on the festival circuit, and the festivals won't let people,
Nothing is easy.
and then it'll show up someplace.
I got to say goodbye.
That's what I got.
I'm getting to
Okay.
this.
You're getting
Albert,
to this?
Pleasure.
Great to have
Yeah.
you guys on, all right?
It's always good to be here, and it's great to see the studio open again, and to see the place working, and like I say, it's we missed it, we missed it. So.
Good night, everybody. Good afternoon.
Be
Good
well.
morning, depending on
Well.
what time you're watching the show. And if you're watching it late, go to bed.
Got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. I got the string around my finger. Lucky me. Can't you see I'm in love? There's a song that I sing, I can make the rain go anytime I move my finger. Lucky me. Can't you see I'm in love? Life's a beautiful thing, as long as you hold the string. I'd be a silly so-and-so if I could ever let it go. I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. Got the string around my finger. What a world, what a life, I'm in love.